Welcome, friends. Thank you for being here. This is episode 143. It's a real honor to have Elizabeth Seraphine with me. Really privileged to be in her home, in her studio, and I've been in Sedona for a few weeks, and she was able to fit me in with her busy schedule. Elizabeth is a very powerful shamanic teacher and has a really powerful story to share with us. So thank you for being here, Elizabeth. It's an honor.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Cool. Oh, well. Elisa introduced us and we did a talk on the Rebel Crone channel. So I wanted to make sure everyone knows about that talk. It was a really good way to get to know both of our stories. But today is about Elizabeth for the people in my audience. So just wanted to ask you about how everything got started for you, what your childhood and your journey into the shamanic path looked like.
Thank you. So let me just get this closer to me. My path started when I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel that some of us are naturally made or cut from this cloth, is what I say as children. And I think all children are really tapped in. And so as a child, I saw spirits a lot. And I had one really profound experience with a deceased Native American Indian. And we had a lot in Oregon. I was born in Oregon, and my father and mother owned a lot with some other people. And on that lot was an old Indian grave. And I remember us going there in the summer times. And this one summer I was 3. And that's when I started to be able to remember my own thoughts and experiences, was by age 3. And I was out looking at this waterfall, and then I just felt this pull, and I just walked over to this grave, and I just stood at the side of the grave because I didn't want to step on the grave. I knew not to do that, and I fell into this trance, and this beautiful Native American man was there, and he was all in his buckskins, and I still, I just remember the profound connection that I had with this beautiful spirit. And he was connected to the land, and he was connected to the water, and connected to Great Spirit. And I thought, how come the people that I'm with aren't like this? You know, and I wanted to stay with him. And he said, no, you have to go back. Mm-hmm. And I remember coming back in my body and then just feeling so alone and so out of place, and that nobody understood me. And I was in a family with a lot of yelling and screaming and just not a lot of safety, not a lot of emotional safety. And so I grew up as this little seer. Spirits would come, to the end of my bed. I'd wake up, I'd see them. And I didn't become afraid of it until my stepfather started taking me to scary movies, where the only way that spiritual sight or seeing spirits was portrayed was evil. Yeah. And I had telekinetic activity happen, which means things would fly off of shelves and things would move around me. And one time when I was 14, I was home alone and I was listening to the radio, and the radio went static. And then I heard this sound because the kitchen was right behind me. And then I heard this breaking sound, and I turned around, and there had been 4 plates that had been stacked on top of each other because they'd been washed, and they were on the back of the counter. They had flown off of the counter, and they'd broken in symmetrical patterns on the floor. And so at that point I was just like, I'm so done with this, and I got on my knees and I prayed and asked God to take it all away from me. Wow. Because I had no support. There was nobody in my realm that knew what was going on. I really should have been trained by the village shaman, but there was no village shaman. And so it went away. But 6 months later, I became bulimic. So it was like all this power, this, spiritual power that lives inside of little people like us, got squished down. And then I became bulimic. And I was bulimic for many years, and I was hospitalized for bulimia. And as I was telling you earlier today, after my 6-week hospital stay when I was 17, I was actually worse. So really I was imploding because who I was didn't mesh with the default reality, and there was nobody in my reality that could see me, or understand what was going on. So I was just imploding. And so I got out and I was worse. And then luckily, soon after that, I was introduced to shamanism. And it was really through the Jim Morrison music. And he mentioned shaman in one of his songs. And I'm like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I needed to know. So I went to the library and there was one book on shamanism by Shirley Nicholson, literally called Shamanism, a compilation of essays. And I read it and I'm like, those are my people. I need to find those people. This is who I am. And this was back in 1987. And so there was no internet. If you were going to find anybody, you had to actually meet them in person. So I had no idea how this was all going to happen, because back then people didn't just get on an airplane and go to South America. So somehow it all came into my life, though. The Foundation for Shamanic Studies showed up, and I began training with Sandra Ingerman and Michael Harner in 1988. I learned the shamanic journey, and I started doing it every single night.
Wow.
And after about a year, I was granted a miraculous healing. And it was a soul retrieval done by the spirits, and they showed up and they returned my power. They returned my soul to me. And in about a month, the bulimia just disappeared.
Wow.
But it was that moment when my soul was returned, and it's not like my full soul, but there's a concept called soul loss in shamanism, where when we have traumatic events, certain parts of our awareness and consciousness and power just dissipates because we don't want to be here. But that was brought back. And that night when that happened, I got down on my knees and I devoted myself to these sacred paths.
Beautiful.
And that was like 35 years ago.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. It's really powerful. Yeah. So Lisa had told me that, she trained with you, and is your focus mainly helping women, or do you work with men as well?
I'm open to who Spirit sends me.
Yeah.
And it was really clear to focus on women for a period of time, just because of the focus, really. The focus, women aren't focused on other things. And so with women usually, and so it really saves a lot of awareness. You can just go into the spiritual awareness. And so I was just guided to work with women. I'm not opposed to working with men, and it really just depends.
Yeah.
But it was really clear that the role of priestess, female shamaness, female medicine woman needed to come back into our consciousness in the Western world, really the whole world. And that had been sanitized 2,000 years ago. So it was really clear to me, because the goddess actually came to me and asked me to do this, to devote some work solely toward women. And that's when I made the Priestess Path Lineages of Light Temple, devoted to returning the role of priestess. Because the role of a woman being a seer, a healer, there's names for it. Shaman, shamaness, medicine woman, priestess. There were names for these people. But specifically for women, we were attacked. The Western woman was attacked about 2,000 years ago, the Western sacred woman. And the Romans started it, and they shut down all the temples to the goddess. They made it illegal to be a priestess, and then they persecuted. And so for the Western woman, we have not had a remembrance of that role. And so it's been part of my mission to return the remembrance of that role and the temples that initiate those people. And so about 40,000 women have gone through my temple so far. And so it's, been a part of returning the template, if you will.
Wow, thank you. And do you offer soul retrieval? Do you intervene on people's behalf when they're needing that support as well? Is that something you offer?
I haven't worked with the general public for a long time.
Yeah.
I've been initiating women. So I in those initiations, the longer, like when they're my apprentices, let's say,
Yeah.
yes, but I have not had the time or the bandwidth to
Sure.
do a public practice, because I've been initiating the women, you know, to carry the medicine, if you will.
Yeah. And so you essentially help women discover their power and their gifts and guide them and facilitate support. And
right. So when a woman feels that call to step into the role of medicine woman, if you will, because I don't think any name really does it. I would love to like come up with a new name for it, but there, you know, that role of leadership and sacred service, and I'm really a soul restorer, because that's the medicine that I needed and what happened to me. So I focus on soul restoration.
Wow.
And so women come to me from all over the world to be initiated into their own power, their own gifts, and it's different for each woman.
Yeah.
Sometimes they will really resonate with soul restoration, soul retrieval. Like right now I have a woman, her name is Beth, and she's she came from like the corporate world. And people sometimes don't even know why they're called to train with me, and I say, like, I don't know why. I mean, maybe we'll discover it when you're in here.
Yeah.
And she opened up to soul retrieval when I taught the soul retrieval technique. She's really good at it.
Cool.
And so you just never know like what tool somebody is going to really open up with. And so like there's many tools that I do teach. And so it's very interesting to see that, yes, they will open up to things they never even knew was possible. And like with Elisa, she downloaded like her entire Rebel Crone purpose and everything. And we didn't know that was going to happen either.
Right. Wow. And with your training, did it include like learning about possession and exorcisms and the heavier side of stuff?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And so it's one of the things I do. I was actually taught very early on how to do what I call exorcisms, the like decoupling. It's like decoupling, an unhealthy relationship between a human and a spirit.
Sure.
So I don't really like to use that word because it brings up scary things for people. Yeah. And it's really just like, hey, you have a relationship with a spirit, and it's like a codependent relationship. You know, are you willing to uncouple that? So the way I've learned to work is compassionately. So it started to happen when I did have more of a public practice, and I was teaching people shamanic journeying and things, and oftentimes another being would show up. Yeah. And I would just start talking to that being, just like any other being, respectfully. And then sometimes we would discover that it was one of those relationships. And then I would start counseling the both of them. Wow. And see if they were both willing to be more sovereign and all of that. And so that's how I do what are called exorcisms. Yeah. But sometimes you do have to be forceful, because I teach women to command. Yeah. To command their space. Yeah. And then we do have the sovereign right to be in the light and to not be, messed with by other beings.
Beautiful. Yeah. And has there ever been a challenging exorcism where things got a little sketchy? Is there danger to doing this work?
Oh, of course, there's danger to doing this work. So if you're not initiated, that's where people kind of, I think, get into problems, because they dabble. Yeah. Or they know of something, or maybe they know a little bit of something, but they haven't really been fully initiated by another person of power. And you know what that means. It's like, that's what I needed when I was younger. I needed the shaman. I needed like the village shaman to start teaching me. And so I've had to come across a lot of this on my own, and I've luckily found some really good teachers. But the most sketchy exorcism that I was ever a part of was with one of my teachers, actually. And it was one of the first times that I was involved in that. And I was really young. I was like 20. And she had a guy on the table who started speaking Native American, and he was not Native American. Yeah. and he was possessed, not possessed by, it was just he had a relationship with, another spirit, and he didn't want to go. And so he was kind of flopping around on the table, and I was the one on the end just grounding the energy. I mean, this was before I performed these things. But there was one, it was actually during a ceremony. It was during an ayahuasca ceremony. And sometimes it happens there too. And I call this one the sea monster. And one of the guys, and he was just like a businessman.
Yeah.
So this is where it's kind of funny, because people that they haven't quite gone into like the realm of initiation, that's where all these things usually happen. But so he got this being, this creature actually came into him. And I called it the sea monster because I could energetically see it, and it had like a mouth like that and everything. And it had a lot to say. And it wasn't going away. And even the shaman couldn't get it to go. And so the guy was literally flopping up and down on the ground. And the shaman actually started to punch the guy. Wow. And I was like, oh, no. That's where I got up and I'm like, I just went over there and I said, no. And I was like, you get this guy into that room over there.
Wow.
And so they got the guy into the room, and I went into the room and I told everybody to leave. And so I was just sitting there with him, and I was just praying. I was just praying for help. I said, please bring assistance for this, because I actually don't know what to do. And Mother Mary showed up.
Wow.
And just took control. Everything became peaceful. The whole thing was gone. And as she was coming, he said, do you see that? And I said, yes. And when she showed up, he's like, it's Mother Mary. And I said, yes, I know. And to this day, he talks to me about that, the person, because we're still connected, and he actually wants to put it in a movie.
Whoa.
I think he's in California. Maybe you'll meet him. But yes, because it was so profound. And so there's various ways that I've learned to work with that. And thankfully we have sometimes the blessings of the spirits. That's what shamanic work really ends up being, is that you're working with these spirits.
Yeah. Wow. Powerful story.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that, if a person needs an exorcism and then they get one, if they're not ready, then the attachment will return. And so do you kind of let people know they're not ready when, or do you just try to help people regardless because it might work, it might hold?
No, I like to, there's a certain time for everything, and the person has to be willing. Yeah. And so if somebody doesn't have the personal will to want to make the next step in their own journey of impeccability, I'm not going to waste my energy on that one, because I hold women in my field for long periods of time for initiation. So their souls are with me. Yeah. Like I'm at capacity. Yeah. So I'm not going to extend energy in an arena where it's not going to work. So I, the word stalking, some people don't really understand that, but in the shamanic state we're tracking stuff. And so with the people that I work with, because that's where that's where I put my energy for the people that really want the initiation. There'll be a time and a place for it. And so I have to listen for when the time is right. And sometimes it's never right.
True. Yeah.
But they have to be, I think it's important that somebody is, like when we're talking about exorcisms, that they're ready to be sovereign. They're ready to release the codependent relationship that they have with the spirit, who's usually offering them some form of power, some form of something. And we have to be willing to connect to the true source of power, which is the divine. And that's really what I do, is I help connect people to the divine.
Beautiful. And one of the women I trained with, Shara Sundust, is she does soul retrieval work, and she's up in Seattle, and she would actually bring like somebody on meth off the street and like clean them up in front of the whole classroom, just to show what it really is going on, and gives them a whole new start at life, and but she had said that there's just some, often with someone like that, she's just doing it to give an example, but that guy's going to pick up that stuff right away. It's going to go back out into the world. So it's interesting that it's almost like a reckless thing to do on some level, but it's interesting that she does that. But some of the students like puke when they're watching these events, like there's a real purging that happens. It can be really disturbing. So I'm just, when I was in a Native American traditional training a long time ago in New Mexico, I would be holding down really small women that would be incredibly strong while the exorcism was occurring. Like all of a sudden there was this extra capacity for them to resist the physical.
There's an old way of doing exorcism and there's like a new way.
Yeah.
And the old way is casting the spirit out.
Right.
And that's where you'll get a fight.
Yeah.
And I have found that I like to talk.
Yeah.
If possible.
Yeah.
For a little bit, because I give every spirit the due respect that I think any creature of God, deserves. And so I will talk to the spirit first. And that's what I did with the sea monster, because he was literally flopping around on the ground. The shaman couldn't even deal with it. The shaman resorted to punching the guy. And that was like, no, this is not how we do this. So, and then I just started talking to the guy, and everything calmed down, and what did it need? What did it need to say? Why is that important? Meanwhile, I'm calling for help,
totally.
Out in the universe, like, I need some backup here. I don't know, and so I have found that, you use the gentle hand, a little bit, and then you see if both parties are willing.
Cool.
Now you don't have to wrestle anything. Now you do like a decoupling, very consciously. However, if that's not, even the sea monster, the shaman was punching him.
Right.
They couldn't hold him down.
Yeah.
But all I had to do was start talking to him.
Exactly.
Right. So it just depends, so the way I've developed that particular tool has been to minimize the force needed.
Beautiful. And then with your dreaming practices, do you experience lucidity at night? Are you working with your clients through the dream world? Or how do you spend your time at night?
Sometimes at night, if I can go to sleep, because I don't sleep that much, I sleep, and honestly, my dreams are, I think, very much just my own processes a lot.
Cool.
Every now and then there will be a situation that I definitely know is part of my students in my life, but I'm very much a dreamer, like all the time. Like my awareness is very much there already. It took a lot to get me to come back here.
Yeah.
That was the soul retrieval, and then the martial arts.
Yeah.
Really got me back in my body, because I was not here very much at all. So I can see their soul house. I can see their thoughts. I see what they're doing. I get to see. So it's like a lot going on there already. So I think my dreams, when I finally get to do that, they're a lot for me.
Good. Yeah. In the Castaneda material, they talk about opening these other worlds through these dreaming gates. And if you can control your dreams, eventually you can meet your parallel lives. You could go into these inorganic worlds and learn about how to, which are dangerous and seductive. These beings will try to convince you to stay and make agreements with you. And so Carlos was sent in there as a test to see if he would fall for those traps. So I notice a lot of people are focusing on that kind of dreaming. What I've discovered is that we can live in heightened awareness during this time, and that dreaming is available just through the art of silence. Just by being silent, you're tapping into so many non-ordinary activities all the time. And so it's just, I've fallen in love with perception and the earth, and spent a lot of time just being in silence in the presence of like Sedona. It's just so incredible just to sit in silence. And I find that most people don't understand how deep silence can become. They assume that meditation is about as far as you can go, but there's like an active side of going beyond that clearly you've discovered as well. And Carlos also was required to learn martial arts to balance all the training that he went through. So I'd love to hear about that process of your life, learning how to get these black belts in different arts. It sounds like you've had quite the training.
That I think it was a dharmic appointment. My first school of shamanic medicine was the Foundation for Shamanic Arts. And that was founded by Michael Harner, and he essentially is the father of Western shamanism. And then my second school of shamanic medicine was headed by Harley Swifter Reagan of the Deer Tribe. So it was the Deer Tribe Métis Medicine Society. And that was and he was the Nagwal of that one. And when I was bulimic, I was also a national track runner. You see all those medals? Right?
Yeah, cool.
And I was really devoted to that art, and I was fully bulimic while doing it. I mean, it was really intense. And so part of my healing was I quit all physical activity until I could do it because I loved it, because I had fallen into doing it for, I think it was one of the few things that I got like positive reinforcement from my family, you know, and I knew all of that. So I was undoing all of that stuff. And so I had a lot of energy, a lot of physical energy, and I wanted to do a physical art that had spirituality as a part of it. And so I was asking spirit what that was, and it was yoga or martial arts, you know, but I had so much energy at the time, like yoga just wasn't going to do it. And interestingly enough, in my second school of shamanic medicine, we did martial arts. And I began training there. And that's also when I met my first husband, who was a martial art master. So together we, when I met him, he had one school. Together we ended up having 5 schools. So it was my life.
Wow.
And we had masters and grandmasters come stay with us at our home for long periods of time. And so in that way, and I'm still a part of that lineage. So now this is many, many years later. And so now I have 6 black belts, and I'm technically just like in the last 3 months was promoted to grandmaster.
Wow.
And those arts, to me, it's an art. Like a lot of people are like, oh, we won't mess with you. And it's like, no, to me, it's an art. Yeah. It's not, I don't think I'm probably that good of a fighter really, but it really got me in my body. Yeah. Perfect. Because I had to coordinate so many things, like exactly where the arm is, and exactly where my spine is, and then learn all these forms. I had to really come into my body. Yeah. And so it allows you your soul shows up here. I think probably more than with any other art, the martial arts, your soul's got to show up in your body. Yeah. And so that was like another form of really getting present for me that I would have never been able to do without it.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. At 16, I trained with a shaman, and we spent every day in the woods sparring and doing parkour before parkour was a thing, and jumping out of trees and learning ninja rolls. And it was just a great way to spend, 16 to 22 or whatever. It was just saturated in the forest and constantly. It was Muay Thai kickboxing, so it was really intense and aggressive. But what particular art black belts do you have?
So so it's in Bagua.
Yeah, wow.
And Xingyi, and 5-Eminal Kung Fu, and Tai Chi. And then we have like the Taoist, all the Taoist qigong from the Taoist immortality sect, the Donghong Taoist immortality sect, which is really the root of, and then there's this Korean system of martial arts called Cheongwoo-do, which is the royal path of martial arts. And I just am finishing my book on the sacred warrior codes that come from that lineage. Wow. And then more recently, Wudong. I'm in the Wudong Tai Chi. I really love that. I really love the Wudong Qigong. So my black belts are mostly in Shaolin, but we have this really deep Korean root, and then the Wudong
Wow. Powerful. And did you have any struggles like when 2020 where certain teachers were going along with the deception? And because I kind of lost my teachers during this process. They were really just bought into the whole story, and they were distancing and masking, and it just really kind of was hard to accept that was happening. Did you lose any spiritual teachers in that process?
I have been sovereign with my connection with the divine for quite some time.
Beautiful.
Um, my teachers I would consider like in the martial arts now, but I'm not in the place where anyone has come into my life for many decades that I would consider to be my spiritual teacher.
Yeah.
I think that my students are very much my spiritual teachers.
Yeah.
I'm constantly learning with them and refining the art, if you will. So at that point, I was married to David Wilcock, my second husband, and I had been doing my art inside of a studio like this for a number of years already. So it's been like 10 years I've been delivering my art and my teachings this way. And I was just telling you, I think like these bright lights, these cameras, and I'm almost done with it this way. And I really want to go back to just the in-person, out in nature way of how disseminating the information and being with people. But no. So, David is a spiritual figure and very well known. And so he and I did amazingly well. Like I didn't even know anyone else. I'm very much right now configured archetypally as like the high priestess in the inner sanctum of the temple. Like there's not a lot of people that I even interact with, you know? So it was kind of seamless for me. I was doing what I was always doing. I don't even know what other people were doing because at that time I had 800 students during COVID. And so that was when I was doing these larger launches. That was like the Priestess Path Lineages of Light initiation. It was a 3-month initiation. I had 800 women.
Wow.
So I was full on. I really didn't have space for even tracking anybody else. So that was my reality.
That's amazing.
There. Yeah. But I understand what you're saying because a lot of people kind of went with this. You're like, they went on another track of reality. When I was 18, I was sitting at a traffic light. It was in Manitou Springs, Colorado. And I got this very clear message, do not take the shot. And I just knew, I'm like, okay, I won't take it. You know what I mean? I was 18. And this was a long time ago. And I'm just like, okay, no, I'm not going to take the shot where they put that stuff in you that messes around with you. That was the very clear. So I've always known, about that. And I truly feel that God knows better than man. So I really never believed that, some people in a laboratory are going to concoct something that's going to,
totally good.
And it's experimental and nobody, and it's an MR and it changes your DNA, it changes your genetic code. I'm like, no, thanks. If anyone's going to change my genetic code, it's going to be God. I'll stare at the sun if I want my genetic code changed as it's either rising or falling, when it's safe to stare at the sun. So I left the default reality after my death experience at 19 and I have not come back. Wow. I mean, you saw me put all this together. This is as much in the default world as I am. Like I was plugging the cords in and the things. I have managed to somehow like be here enough to do that, but I don't consider myself part of the herd.
Good. Oh, well, it's an honor to meet you.
As much as I might look like I am, I don't know, but.
Well, being in your presence, I can tell, it's really strong. Appreciate that someone like you exists. It gives me a lot of hope and I'm glad that you're available for women. The mentors that I work with these days are women for whatever reason, and they really help me to drop into any unresolved pain and get into my heart. And a lot of the shaman male teachers were just like teaching me how to like do things instead of like focus on the unresolved. And So as you stalk your students, I assume you're really asking the appropriate questions or getting to know all the unresolved wounding that we often call the shadow work.
Yes, we just did our shadow work journey.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens, as you probably know, you work with students too. So what happens is when they come into your field and you make that commitment, you know, and it's a free will commitment, and we do it ceremonially. I'm like, you need to tell me what your will is, because I can only be in service to your will as long as as long as it checks out and it's divine will as well. So they have to do that, but we do that ceremonially, and that begins a whole process.
Yeah.
And after about 3 months, I can see the shadow.
Mm.
But you can't just boom her. You can't just say it like that. You know, that's why we have this term stalking. Yeah. Because you're like, okay, now what do I do? You're like, I'm on the track of it. And it is really just to liberate them. Because we know that the shadow, it's concealing the light, and it's taking power. Like power is hidden in the shadow. And so we have to go, it's part of recapitulation. We have to go get every single part of ourselves. And we have to know what it is. And we have to bring it back here, back to our own heart and back to spirit. And so it's one of the things I do. I'm really good at it. Well, the art of it is in working with the student now, and not having them feel like they're on guard, if you will, by seeing the shadow and by communicating with the shadow and say, are you willing to look at this? So I'm constantly refining the art of shadow work. And I have found one of the best things to do is to say to the person, would you like to take a look at this? You know what I mean? Because, you know, if I see it, it doesn't do any help if they don't want to see it. And so the art is in getting them to be willing to look at it, but know that I'm not here looking at this to hurt you. We're here to bring this back into you as your own power and to liberate this configuration that's not helping you or anybody else. Because what people do with their shadow is they project it onto other people. Sure. And as long as they're doing that, I call it shadow boxing. And now they're just, you know, it's like they've decided that you're going to be the recipient of my shadow and now I'm going to fight you. I'm like, it's just really wasting a lot of energy and power and causing suffering, where suffering does not need to be caused. So it's a very interesting one. And with women, you know, you also have to come in with a velvet hand. And so I'm constantly refining the velvet. What is my first husband, who's now a grandmaster, he calls me the velvet shoe because he's also Italian. And in Italian, do you know what getting a shoe means? Well, it's like, you know, when your mom takes the shoe off and just throws it at you because you're like doing something and she wants you to stop. So that's called getting a shoe. So getting a shoe is getting a correction or an adjustment. And I think they call me the velvet shoe. Wow. Because I've learned to come in just really soft and gentle. And because people need correction sometimes, right? They're off. And they don't know that they're off, creating suffering or... You know, and that's why, like, I have this book that I just finished on all these codes that come in. We actually have codes in our lineage that we abide by. They're thousands of years old honor codes. And so when somebody's askew, we have to have a way of tuning them back in. You know. So yes, women require a little more velvet sometimes. Sure. But every now and then you have to put a little pressure on, you know, too.
I bet.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. The teachers that I trained with were very much pretty ruthless in that they would build your ego up and help you realize how powerful you are, and then just really tear it down. So you kind of like coaches in football, and you'll see this tactic where you're feeling really special. That exposes your ego. Right. And then they you know, help you to see the other sides, and that can be with the wrong person, that can be a really dangerous thing to be inside of their perception of you becomes your perception of yourself. And that's what happened to me with my teachers. And I'm thankful for all the shadow teachers I've had, but for the most part, I learned how not to do it, right? So did you ever find yourself entangled in somebody that had power, that was misusing their power as a teacher in your life?
Let me tune into that. In little ways, I've had good teacher karma.
Cool.
I've been really, really blessed in that what I chose to do was find teachers of lineages. And that means that they had a teacher.
Yeah.
And that means that they had a teacher. And that means that somebody already did the hard work of their ego death.
Yeah.
And so I've had good teacher karma that way. And that's how I chose. That's why I call my temple, the Priestess Path, Lineages of Light, because I knew to go to the lineages, contiguous lineages that have been around for a really long time. And thankfully, the teachers that really affected me were part of those lineages.
Cool.
And so one of the things that I talk about a lot, not really publicly, because I'm very, very much in my temple teaching the women that come to me and, or, you know, whoever spirit has brought to me to really go through the process. I'm very much there a lot. So I talk about, what was I saying? Let me just get back there. The importance of having a teacher, especially, so there's a lot of false teachers.
Yeah.
Right now, especially because it's really easy just to like turn on a camera and pretend, you know, that you're a teacher of something. But then I ask, who was your teacher? And who was their teacher?
Yeah.
And what did they go through? Because if somebody has not had like a good teacher, they often run the risk of what we call doce, which is being drunk on your own thoughts, which is somebody self-appointing.
Yeah.
As, you know, really not going through the training, if you will, because you have to be safe as a teacher tapping into real power, because it's very easy for people to abuse their power and to think that, oh, I'm doing this spiritual work with somebody or I'm doing shadow work, but no, you're not. You're just in your shadow.
Yep.
Because you haven't really gone through. Because you need to die a few times, and that ego needs to be shredded to pieces, because everything needs to be, in my view, devoted to the true everlasting light, and it can't be that, you know, it's your ego. You know, oh, look at me, I have this opportunity to have power over somebody. Well, now you're a tyrant, right? And we disassemble tyrants. So you have to disassemble your own tyrant first. And most people don't have the ability to do that themselves. So you need some mirrors.
Beautiful.
You need some good mirrors. And then if you've done that enough, then I think you're a good teacher.
Yeah.
But I think most people, unfortunately, I think most people are going to have a real hard time finding those people. And because, and then one of the main things that I've learned to do is to, you have to let the person know that you are devoted to their light, right? It's not like, I'm gonna do this stuff with you, and especially the shadow work. But please know I love you, and know that I honestly don't care if you do it. Not about me, because I'm going to leave your life. I'm not even going to be here.
Right.
Do you want to do this for you? Do you want to liberate you from this? Because this is ultimately just so that your soul can be more in the light. And these things. So I have to even test people's sincerity, because if they're not sincere, they will break at a certain threshold of their process with me, because you truly have to, what I do is bring it all to the light. So there's no games, there's no playing around, there's no little, I'm going to hide here and I'm going to do this and I'm going to, no, it all comes to the light.
You mentioned that you're sovereign in that you're not working with someone that's overseeing your progress? Is there a loneliness that comes with that, or wishing that you found someone that could challenge you at this point?
Yes, yes. I love interaction. I actually do. I'm like, I grew up with an older brother. Like, I'm really used to that dynamic of having somebody there. But as you probably know, when you've gone into this realm enough, it's very rare that somebody can actually see you, hold space for you, even know what's going on. And I've found that it's really hurtful if somebody doesn't get it.
Right.
So I'd prefer to be alone than to interact with people that will end up trying to hurt me, because they really aren't truly able to hold a large enough space where I feel like I'm in the column of light that goes to the divine. That's where I'm working all the time. If somebody's not really there,
right,
and they're still in their personal game, it's going to be really hurtful. So I prefer to be alone there. And they do send me like spiritual friends.
Yeah.
I had this one beautiful interaction the last ayahuasca ceremony I was in, and I was really going through something myself, just some old childhood wounding stuff. This beautiful, like, amazing being showed up, and he was like a Tibetan master, and he had these beautiful gray silver eyes, and he just sat right in front of me.
Wow, beautiful.
And just as like, just giving me that rock, just giving me that template as I was going through my stuff. So I'm like, okay, all right, here I am with you. And I would just tap into him every now and then and tap into his template. So yes, ideally I would love to be able to have somebody that could, if they challenge me, they've got to be able to hold that bigger space of love. Because if it's coming from an ego, I can see it, and I'm like, no, sorry, like, we're not, you can't, I won't give you my soul, if you will, to work with. And that's why it's been for a very, very long time, just between me and spirit.
Beautiful. Have you encountered any reckless shamanic ayahuasca? Like, are you seeing a lot of stuff that needs to be cleaned up out there?
Everywhere, honestly. It's like a big pain point for me as somebody who started when I was 17, before the internet, before anybody ever went down to South America, before anyone ever, before the plastic shaman movement. So I come from like old school, I come from like some of the first Westerners to be interfacing, with it. I think Castaneda brought it into the field in his books, but there was no pathway of initiation that anybody could go on. So here you are with all this information, people were interested in it, and then came the first pathway people, Michael Harner, Harley Swifter Riggin, the people that started holding their initiatic ways. I was in that group, right? I was trained by those people in some of the ways, and some of the lineage holders of, like, in South America. Thank goodness I had good teachers, and then my martial art lineages, like, we're mainlining lineages there. So I come from a time of earning. You earn your right to teach. You earn it from your teachers. Your teachers recognize you, and they say, all right, you're good. Like, you can teach this because you know it.
Yes.
You've gone through it. I've watched you. I know who you are. And today we have a lot of self-appointed teachers. Maybe they read a book on it. Maybe they went to a weekend workshop. Maybe they did a little bit. And I feel that, well, we had a conversation about this before. Part of me feels it's dangerous. And then another part of me feels, well, gosh, there's 8 billion people in the world. Like, everybody needs somebody to learn from. And for some people, there's a lot of people I wouldn't accept. I'm not even going to talk to them. you know, because there's so much you have to go through. So it's good that there are people that will maybe walk people through some of the initial stages, you know, and but you know, there's a lot of, see, people don't understand, they're opening up to certain things, so people will get possessed.
Yeah.
People will start to do dark magic because they don't really understand cosmic law well enough yet to not want to do it. So, you know, we say in the martial arts, the most dangerous person is a white belt.
Yeah.
Because they know a little bit, but they don't know enough to be safe.
Right.
Or to be good. And so if you've got a white belt in front of you and you're maybe doing a little sparring, they might not know not to put all full for, and you're like, I would never be in your presence if I weren't, right, if we weren't in this teaching element. They have to know certain things, and it takes a while. Sometimes it takes decades, you know.
Wow.
And most people aren't on a path like that.
Yeah.
You know, so one of the things, you know, that I try to do is to distill 35 years of initiation and going into the field and being I was the humble apprentice for many, many years.
Right.
I didn't just start out,
Yeah.
you know, saying that I'm a teacher. I was the humble apprentice for many, many years until I got the directive to put my temple together. And so I try to distill some of the initiatic alchemy from that so that women get well-rounded enough that they're not going to come out of my temple dangerous.
Yeah. Wow.
And that's why there are some people that don't make it, because if it gets to an arena where a point where I can see that they're not willing to truly be in service to the highest good, but they're in service to their own ego, I can't work with them anymore.
Yeah.
Because there is I have a responsibility.
Yeah.
So it's interesting work.
Do you find that you have to, or did your path, and do you recommend to your students at times to go through a period of celibacy as a means to like clean up any past sexual partners?
That's an interesting one. I don't recommend that. I understand it. If somebody wanted to purify, I might recommend that. I work a lot with I have to know the free will of the person, and I really ask them. And you might see that there's not a lot of people that really want to go through.
Yeah.
It's very rare that somebody will go through the purifications.
Yeah.
The kind of initiations that, you know, we heard about in the Carlos Castaneda books, where it's death sometimes. Yeah. Very, very few people. And so I work with people that don't want to go through what I went through.
Right.
So I have to translate, and I have to know what their will is and their vision for themselves, because I'm not going to push their own sacred will. And if somebody was like, give me the full burrito, I want to, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay, you know, but it has to come from them.
Cool.
But I understand what you're saying. And I think it is really important at this stage of my life. I kind of wish I had done a few years of celibacy earlier on and oriented even a little more, but I didn't have that guidance. You know, I wish I had, or somebody who could hold me in that, but I really didn't. But it's really important to make this connection. Yeah. And this whole thing, which is very driven, I think, in our 20s and maybe 30s, by this biological need, the procreation thing. I think that's sacred and beautiful and natural. When we're talking about connecting to the divine and purifying your own energetic field and your own spirit, it does very much help not to be interweaving with another being, which is what sexuality is, and it's beautiful and sacred. But there is something to be said for not doing that and having just you and doing the recapitulation work in your own process. And I call it bringing it to the altar of the divine, constantly, over and over and over. There's nothing else for you to do. There's nobody else to interact with.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it's often in the Castaneda world, everyone was trying to be celibate, and it caused a lot of problems, a lot of repression, a lot of guilt and shame and confusion, right? So I'm just seeing how complicated people are and how hard it is to take them out of the complex and give them opportunity to interact in the more simple ways of just being yourself and following your own path, because it's a lot of comparison, a lot of like trying to copy.
That's, when you have, like I said, he wrote these books and then people were just kind of trying to do whatever, but there was no pathway for it. I don't read books. I don't do books. I don't tap into anybody else's consciousness. I want the divine. And that's what I do for other people. If I actually tell my ladies, it's better if you're not reading other people's books right now. It's really better because this is going to be a process of you connecting into yourself and the divine. We really don't want anybody else's consciousness. And so I consider myself a midwife of souls. And like a midwife helping with a birth, you have to be fully present for what's going on right there. I'm not going by the book. I'm going by what is happening right now with this being, and I'm working with that. And I don't do epidurals, and I don't cut, right? And I don't, I don't induce the labor. It's called it's like spiritual midwifing. And so I am very much not into other people's thoughts and other people's, I created a whole new template.
Beautiful.
I'm one of the pioneers for women recreating the initiations of the female medicine woman, what we call priestess. And so I didn't do that from tapping into somebody else's thought. I did that from receiving the template from the divine, activating the things in me, stuff that I'd already gone through, but I had to translate it.
Cool.
So
it feels good. I think that's important during this time. The veil's gotten thinner, and we need something that's of today, something that's present and not like trying to copy and dress like they used to, or as Don Juan would say, be of your time, and so a lot of people are attempting to try to live like the Amish, and they're afraid of all the Wi-Fi, and they're like, in fear of what's coming, and it's just not sustainable to be trying to constantly protect yourself from the poisons of this realm. You have to sort of figure out how to be strong enough to be in here and not running from anything at all. So, but I get that you don't want to be in these lights all the time.
Because sometimes I teach 4 or 5 hours a day. And so it's every day, right? And it's a lot. So this is, these types of lights, I prefer to be, in nature and things. So this is where the technologies come to, and you can tell, like, these lights end up kind of starting to burn my eyes, and so there'll come a time where it's just like my eyes sting from it. But it's afforded me the ability to do this as a living.
It's true.
And to have the house, that you see here. And it's one of the things I transfer to women is, okay, not only becoming that, who is that wise woman who knows how to heal souls, who knows, the tools of that, the tools of connecting to the divine, the tools of working with your spirit guides, the tools of exorcism, the tools of, who is that woman? But not only that, like, okay, being that woman, but then making a living.
Mm-hmm.
How many people make their full healthy living doing it?
Right.
And I've done that one too. And so, the technology is like a product of that. Ideally, I'd like to retire out of so much in front of these things, just because, I mean, I can't even look at those lights right now. You know, it's like that. But I've interfaced.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I learned that I went and got my mastery on that one, right? I found my masters and I learned from them, and I'm a good student. I incorporated it. But right now I'm doing more of I'm doing small groups of initiations for 1 year up to 4 years.
Wow.
To transfer some of these tools. And I work with that person at being the midwifery, because it's like, what is their gift? What is their will? You know, what's their higher will? Why are they even here? That's what happened with Elisa. She tapped into her purpose, because it's like, who are you? Why are you here? And what do you want to do with your days? And so it's different for each woman. But I am restoring that template because I restored it for me. And so, because a lot of my pain was that there was nobody for me.
Yeah.
When I was there as a seer, when I was seeing the spirits, when telekinesis was happening, all I wanted to do was heal.
Yeah.
But nobody could teach me that.
Oh.
So I went and I found all of that, you know, and so I am now a teacher of that.
Has there been any vision quests? Is that part of your training? And do you ever facilitate that for students to go on quests?
I don't facilitate it. I have gone on many of my own quests. I have not facilitated vision quests for others as of yet, in the way that I went on them.
Right. Cool. Yeah. But in a sense, you are doing that. You're helping women to discover their vision.
Yes. So I've, like I said, I've translated some of the initiations I went through. Some people don't want to go through what I honestly have never met somebody who did the crazy stuff I did, or even wants to.
Right.
So, and part of what you said is like bringing it into the now. Okay, how do we bring it into the now? Of everything so busy, everybody's so busy. What if somebody doesn't want to take 30 years and shave their head and go into the jungle and find a Nagual and apprentice him for 20 years and go train diligently for 8 hours a day in the martial arts for 20 years, 25 years? What? Right. Nobody has the time for that.
Right.
So how do you create a modern initiation that works, that people can actually tap into, that still does the alchemy without going, like, I might have one student on the planet who would do what I wanted to do. And then I would live on a park bench. So like we have to figure out how to come in to the real world right now. And luckily, the veils are thin. And to me, like, because I've died a couple times, I'm just looking at the light. I'm like, well, that's where I came from. That's where I'm going. The light is the source of all miracles. What healed me? What came in and gave me that miraculous healing? Well, it was the spirits on the other side. Well, the other side of what? The other side of this life, right? The place that people call death. Our spirit helpers over there. Why did they did that? They do that because they had compassion. They restored my light. They restored my power. So I'm just looking at light. So I'm just looking at, okay, who's here? Who came to the temple? What do they want? Truly, is it sincere? Can they do this? Are they ready? How much can I do with them?
Right.
How much can I serve them? I can't give them 35 years of my experience,
right.
But I can try to distill distill out of all of that. What are the most potent things that I can deliver right now that actually work, that will actually benefit this person? And that's where we see the transformations. somebody opening up into a gift, somebody getting an aha moment. When I do stuff in person, sometimes the room will fill with light, and then these things will happen, and they'll be freed of certain things. Thank God. You know what I mean? Like, stuff just happens, and that's really what I feel like I'm doing, is walking people up to the threshold of the magical light, and then it does what it does.
Yeah. And speaking of what's coming up for you, and what can you tell us about how to get a hold of you, and as we wrap up here?
So what I'm doing right now are initiations, like mostly year-long initiations for women who really seriously want to embody the architecture of the shamanist, the medicine woman, the priestess. And so they want to step into their sacred power and their sacred calling. That's the main thing I'm doing. I do some challenges to allow people to get to know me and listen to me, and so those will be coming up. And I have a free gift for your people that are listening, so that they can connect and get something. And the free gift is on power, which is really what I'm devoted to, is divine power. And as we stalk power, right? What is power? To me, power is just the divine light. The divine light helps and heals. What is healing? Being full of divine light, your own divine light. And so I have a free gift on power. They can go to my website, elizabethseraphine.com, free-gift-power.
Cool.
And then if anybody is interested, they can contact me on my website, if they are interested in going through maybe a deeper initiation. And they can get on my email list if they want to be aware of my challenges and things like that.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you make yourself available to people, and it's really an honor to spend some time with you and get to know your story.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to sit with you. Also, it's not often at all that I can communicate with somebody who understands some of the language or some of the experiences. So it's been a real pleasure this is the first time I've met you in person, to just sit with you and hear a little bit about your story and some of the terminology you use. And I can feel your appreciation and your real dedication to the path, which is rare.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for seeing me. Yeah, it's a big boost of energy for me to be with people that are conscious and aware and lit up. And it's really special, your story about the man that visited you. I just saw that really strongly, and it's such a cool thing to share with people that can happen.
The Indian?
Yeah, or the later one, the monk.
Oh, the monk that came. That was the most recent one.
Yeah, so cool.
That was the most recent one, and it's really, really beautiful. So this is part of the work we do, right?
Yeah.
When you look at the shamanic lineage, because that's why I went to all these different lineages, because each one has like a different gift, many, many gifts. But in the shamanic lineage, it's really the gift of creating allies.
Yeah.
And having spiritual allies that we work with. And that's one of the things I do, is I help people get connected to their spirit guide. It's the first spiritual ally that we work with. But that being that showed up, he was an ally. Yeah. And he came to be with me, and he is one of my guides. Yeah. At a time that I just needed, I just was like, I was going through a lot of I was recapitulating some really old wounds from childhood. And I was like in the heaviness of that. And he showed up. He just sat there, and he was like, oh, just so present, so strong, so tapped in. And it was just so nice. Yeah. And so now I can just close my eyes and tap right into him.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm super honored to have my girlfriend died when she was 19, but she's a really powerful woman. And she's been guiding a lot of us that were really close to her. And so I get to go not only into our memories, which were really pristine, but she visits me, teaches me how to dance and snowboard, and like she adds such a feminine aspect to my being just by just learning from her constantly, and the dreaming we get to do together. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, so there's different ways to find helpers, and glad that you're helping people to find theirs. Cool. Oh, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed our show today, and I look forward to connecting with you. And much love, everyone. Take care.